Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Enlightened Entrepreneur. Today's interview is sponsored by World Outsourcing Solutions, where we specialize in helping business owners with outsourcing services and other business growth-related topics. And today's interview is entitled Financial Planning, Critical Skills Every Business Owner Needs to Develop if they're to succeed. Now, I'm very excited about today's interview because the gentleman I have with me is somebody who is doing something very special over there in California, and his name is Jason. Now, Jason J. Hamilton is the president and the CCO of KIS, keep it simple, free only financial planning and a registered investment advisory in Orange County, California, and is committed to helping Generation X and Y clients. Welcome to the interview, Jason.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be with our audience here today. And I know what it is like, on a business day. And it's really early over there today.
Now, oh, yeah. But I've been up since 5, so I'm ready to go. I'm really excited to talk with you today. Absolutely.
Excellent. Now, one of the reasons we have Jason for the podcast today is we, as entrepreneurs, at some point needed to have some advice on how we manage our finances, how to plan your finances if you are to succeed. Because if you don't plan that, you are actually planning to fail. So having individual or experts like Jason come to talk to us every now and again, it keeps you on the track and you'll be able to do the right thing. So to get us started, Jason, very quickly, I know our audience would like to know who you are, what you've done in the past, and how you normally help individuals like them. So, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for that excellent introduction. So my name's Jason. My company that I own is a registered investment advisory. And so essentially what we do is we provide services on a fee-only basis to help families. Typically, my type of firm requires a minimum of $1 million of investment to be able to get help. So my business model has completely flipped that on its head because I really want to serve people that don't have $1 million yet, that aren't quite where they want to be, but they know they want to get the help they need to get there. And so we just do a few different models where it's either a monthly subscription, so similar to like a gym membership or a cell phone. We can do a one-time fee, or we can even do an hour if you just need help on a specific issue. So the reason I got into this was because about 6 years ago, I was looking for something similar because I was at a point where I was making a little bit extra money. I was getting stock options from the company I was working for, and I just really didn't know what to do. Right. And so I did a ton of online research, and I found out, okay, I want to work with a fee-only firm because the other places are going to sell me some insurance product or some commission thing that it's just really not my best interest. And I was getting turned down everywhere I went. So over a couple of years, I started learning more about it myself, and then I really started doing research and found out that, wow, there is a way to do this profitably and do it in a totally different way than people have typically done this in the past. And so I started working on that dream, and it was very challenging, a lot of ups and downs. But today, I own my own firm. I'm able to serve people that are just right in my target clientele. And honestly, it's never been better. So it's been a really great experience getting started here.
Incredible. I love it when entrepreneur figures out a way of helping people who are at that initial stages, because it's easier to help somebody who already has $1 million because they have enough money to spend. But those who are getting started and they need the help the most, and oftentimes they don't have the finances to get that help. It's a catch-22 situation. Exactly. But there are individuals like you who say, no, you know what, let's go and help those people. So really appreciate individuals like yourself.
Thank you.
Now, the knowledge you're going to be sharing with us today, Jason, how has that transformed your life? Or, is there an example, from your clientele basis that, you are okay to share with our audience today that have experienced tremendous breakthrough from the knowledge you'll be sharing today?
Yeah. So I'll start with a little bit about how it's transformed my life. Before I started learning what financial planning was and really how to manage your personal finances. I think like most people, it was just a bit of a mess. And I essentially was just walking through day to day without a plan, without a goal. And at the end of the day, I didn't have the financial situation that I wanted to be in. I had debt. I had no control of what I was doing, and I had no plan for the future. And so, once I started taking steps forward and figuring this thing out, I saw a massive transformation in my life. And at the end of the day, I would not have been able to start this business and take the risk that I had to take and have the cash flow I needed to take, because I started this 100% debt free. I don't believe you should start a business with, too much debt, if any, if you can avoid it, because it just adds a lot of risk. And so, but by doing what I did and getting to the certain situation, I was able to share with others. And I could share a specific situation with you that is really coming really into the next step of it. And I think will be inspiring for people. I have a person that was pretty close to me that did all the right things. When we have a junior college system here where you can do 2 years in a junior college and then transfer to like a 4-year university. College here can be extremely expensive, especially if you go to a private school. And so what she was trying to do is do the right thing, get her first 2 years done, her general education, and then transfer. She actually did too much of the right thing, because what she did, and I would still recommend this, but she got a job and she was working while she was in school. Right. It sounds like a great idea. The problem is the system here is a little bit backwards. And because she worked and because she earned an income, and it was only about $10,000 or $11,000, she became disqualified for the grants that this particular school she was transferring to provided. Right. And she did all the right things, applied and got in, and was expected to get scholarships because other members in her family did, and based on the same family income and everything like that. But because of that, she got disqualified. And so now she was in a situation where, okay, do you take a year off, reapply to other schools, because she got into a private school, which is about $30,000 a year? Do you take on student loans? What do you do? And at that time, and this is really before I knew her and was able to get her buy-in for what to do, she decided to go the student loan route and racked up over $50,000 in student loans, almost $60,000.
Right.
And didn't know what to do, felt stuck, felt lost, and it was one of those things where you don't think about it while you're in school. And I think in America, we're at over $1.3 trillion in student loan debt. It's a huge crisis. And we're in a situation where people feel 6 figures in debt coming out of school is not that big a deal. And I mean, it causes massive stress on people's lives. So, but once we started talking and walking her through like, hey, this is another way to think about it, she was able to make some changes, and to the point where she worked a part-time job, 2 part-time jobs. She sold cupcakes at her church on the weekend. She sold things online. She went absolutely crazy, and she's been out of school less than a year, and it's been about 18 months since she started actually following the steps that I recommended, and she's paid off over $50,000 in student debt and is about to be done completely with all of her student debt in about 2 months is what she's scheduled for. And she could have been sitting here easily a year later with accumulated interest, have deferred the payments, and been in a completely different situation. But because she took the right steps, even while she was in school, which I think that's the hardest thing for me to get people to do sometimes, they feel like they're too busy. But she just busted it and made some great breakthroughs. And now she's able to actually start her own business. And she's working for a nonprofit, which hardly pays anything, but she has an online business. She's doing so many different things because she's not burdened and trapped down by, an $800 student loan payment, which forced her to go get a job that she didn't want to go to every day.
Incredible. I love hearing stories like that, because that proves that what we're about to talk about right now actually works if people put it into practice. And like we always say here on the show, that if you are in business and you don't put these things into practice, they're just as good as you're not listening to them. And I'm excited about today that we're going to be learning some very critical steps that anyone in business or not in business can take to ensure that their finances are in a better shape than before they hear this podcast. So let's jump right in it. It's quite clear to me that you've got the skills. What is the first skill that every business owner needs to know when it comes to financial planning?
Okay, so this one, this applies actually to business and their real life, I should say their personal life. So no matter what you're doing, you need to have, a cash flow plan, or the big B word, a budget. You have to know where your money's going. You have to know when it's coming in, how much is coming in, how much is going out, because the number one reason for business failure is cash flow problems.
Right.
And the biggest things are not planning for taxes, and then also not collecting on what may be owed because they just have a bad receivables system in place. So when you have a business owner just starting out, what I usually recommend is they set up a completely different business checking account, and only the money coming in from the business goes into that account, and only the money going out of the business goes out of that account. And every time they do take a distribution, they put aside at least 25 to 30%, depending on where they're living and their tax rates. But set up a savings account along with that business checking account, and put that aside every time you take money out for your personal use. And what's left over essentially is what your profit is. And it makes it so simple to just have a basic accounting system where even if you're just starting and you have no income, no money, you can't afford a bookkeeper yet, which I do recommend you get as soon as possible. But that gives you a basic accounting system so that you can look at it every single month and know where you're sitting at. If you start with that, you're going to be in a good place to become successful over the long term.
Incredible. I remember when I did that, way back in 2008 when we were just starting out. It's very, very simple, but it's very practical. Even if you don't have an accounting background, it's easy to do. Now, Jason, are there any tools or website that anyone listening can actually use at this point or at this stage?
Over here, I'm not sure if you guys have that there, but over here we have a few online banks that have some great apps that you can actually run your payment system through and keep control of everything all on your phone, so it's with you at all times, so you can always check it. One that I like, that I use, and I don't get paid by them or anything like that, but Capital One has a Spark Business account where you can actually use it to run your payments through. Similar to like a Square, you can deposit checks, and it has an app. So right on your phone, you get notifications. You keep track of everything right with you. But if you just want to use a account that doesn't necessarily have an app, that's okay. But keep a little budgeting system with you. There's one called YNAB, or You Need a Budget. That one's great. Again, I don't get paid by any of these things. I just think it's a very easy, straightforward system for entrepreneurs to use that they can manage everything through. Another one is FreshBooks. People seem to love FreshBooks a lot. They have invoicing in there, a lot of different things that you can help manage your accounts at a very minimal cost, but you get similar services to what you would get if you did have someone you're paying on a monthly basis to keep track of that.
Incredible. Thanks for that. Let's jump on to the second skill that you consider to be very important for a business owner to have or develop when it comes to financial planning.
Okay, so as a financial planner, I do have to be a technician and also a business owner. And I think that's where most people are going to start. So the biggest skill that I make sure that I maintain on at least a weekly basis is that I'm not only working in my business, but I'm also working on my business.
Right.
So what that means is, yes, I do have to service clients. I do financial planning, so I will sit with clients, kneecap to kneecap, get very deep on a lot of different situations that may be going on, and then I have a lot of follow-up work that I need to do when it comes to doing the actual planning, preparing reports and things like that. But if I don't make sure I set aside a specific amount of time and a specific time of day to do things like marketing, to do things like my accounting, to do things like checking on my account, I know long-term my business is going to fail. So what I usually recommend is that if you're talking about social media, set aside an hour 3 times a week or an hour a day that specifically for that hour, say it's from 2 to 3 o'clock, that I'm going to do specifically social media. I'm going to write a blog post. I'm going to do something that gets some marketing done. Same thing. I'm going to spend this time once a week to get my accounting done. Because if you don't stop yourself and do that, I mean, you can literally just get so lost in the abyss that you get confused with what you're doing. You don't manage things like your cash flow, and you end up just not moving forward anywhere near as fast as you can. So if you can have systems that do that, man, I love things like just even little simple alerts on the iPhone. Remind me every day at 2 o'clock to work on marketing. Just do that. Make it as simple as possible so that you have things that do these, as many automated things for you, so you can just really follow your systems and get your systems in place that if you just manage your systems properly, then everything else will take care of itself.
Incredible. I love what you're talking about. For me, it is a pure discipline. Once you have that discipline and following through, really life becomes a blast. And also, you can scale things up when you want to scale things up, because you have these systems you can plug somebody in. For example, you may be thinking of using a virtual employee to help you in some of this, if you're working virtually, that is. And you can then focus on working on your business rather than working in your business, which you rightly put there. When people get stuck on this, maybe they find it difficult. What suggestions would you give to a business owner like that?
So what I've come to find is that pretty much any problem you could have in business, someone else has had that problem. And typically they realize that and they go write a book about it. And so I believe, as any sort of leader, it doesn't matter if you own your own business or you work for someone else, if you're a leader, you need to be reading consistently. And so for this specific situation, Michael Gerber has an E-Myth series that is outstanding, and that it's really helped me frame my mindset to thinking like this. Because like you said, you can be a technician forever, but if you want to be a business owner, you have to be able to step back and plug people into your systems, exactly like you mentioned. So that's why I mentioned doing this up front is kind of a sneaky trick, because I know people do this. Long term, they're going to be in a better place. But I hate to overwhelm people that are just getting started or wanting to make that shift. But you're absolutely right. But there's E-Myths for all kinds of different professions. But if you just get the standard E-Myth revisited, it'll teach you the mindset and gives you the basic foundation you need, and you can apply those principles to whatever your business may be. And that's a great place to start.
Incredible. I'm really, very happy that you mentioned, referencing to other business owners or other people who are a step ahead, learning from them. Jason, in your own experience, how has the role of mentorship played out for you in your business?
Oh man, you have to find people, and it doesn't necessarily have to be people like that you speak to live, but finding mentors is crucial, and listening to things like this podcast, or just podcasts in general that are about the subject that you're interested in. It's so much easier if you could just pick up tips and tricks from people that have done it ahead of you. I prefer to learn from other people's mistakes, honestly, because if I can learn from their mistakes, I'm going to make my own. I already know that's going to happen. So if I can learn from theirs and skip a couple along the way and move just a little bit more forward, that is just going to help me out long term. But if you can find a specific mentor in your field that you can just get 10 minutes of their time once a month. I have a target for someone I'm working for or looking for right now. I'm trying to get in. It's really tough to get. He's a huge financial advisor over here, but he's doing so many similar things that I see myself doing. And his name is Rick Edelman, but he's just all over the place. He's has 13 states that he's in and all over the country. But I'm still chasing him down. So you have to continue as well to try to increase the level of your mentor along the way, because sometimes a certain mentor may be great for where you're at right now, but you're going to need to move on from that as you continue to grow and develop in your current situation. So this guy is like, if I can do 10% of what he's doing, I'm going to be in a great place. So always shoot for somebody that is like, 10 to 100 times where you would be content. And if you can get, that much of their knowledge and experience to get you there, then you're just going to end up in a great place.
Incredible. That is so true. I was listening to Tony Robbins not long ago, and he was saying, you see, when people finish college, many people stop learning.
Oh, that's when it starts.
really, that's when it starts. And he went on to share an example that when people are in school, they've got teachers who are like mentors. They then move to high school. They also have mentors. They move on to college. They've got mentors, and then when they finish, they go to to start working for somebody else, or they start their business. They stop. There is no that accountability, or I'm trying to achieve this, and as a result nothing happens. And that made so much sense to me that if we could just get hold of that I need somebody that is step ahead, just like you rightly say, that I can say I want to be like doing what they're doing, I'll be content with that. So that's really, really remarkable. Let's jump on to the third skill, Jason, in your opinion, that you feel if business owners can do this when it comes to their financial planning, they'll be in a much better position.
Okay, so this one may throw some people off, but just stick with me on this. I'm going to tell you to don't focus on the money first.
Right.
What I'm going to say is focus on delivering value to your clients. If you deliver enough value and you help enough people, the money will come. And it's all about your mind state with this concept, and it's really tough. And there's still, I truly believe if I focus on money right now, I can be ahead of where I'm at. But I'm really focused on building my value so that when I do get recommended from people, the recommendations that come in for me, it's like I don't even have to try. They're just ready to sign up because of the value I delivered to the previous client. And it's a slow process to build, but from people that I've seen doing exactly what I'm doing that are ahead of me, that have done it this way, their firms, they don't have a lot of turnover. People stick with them for the long term. And if you have clients that are willing to stick with you for the long term, we get these concepts in our head, but we have to have this explosive business within the internet age. And it's great if that happens. But honestly, most businesses are built one client at a time. And it's almost like a hockey stick format in the sense where it starts off real slow and then you hit that corner and it just starts accelerating really quickly because you did all the right things, even though you didn't see it up front, and you had to believe it yourself, and you had to just stay focused when not enough money was coming in. You had to work your side jobs and you had to do those different things you had to do to make this work, but you built something of value and you focused on that first, because long term, I forget the Albert Einstein quote, but it says, I'd rather become a man of value versus a man of substance, or I forget what he said. But if you focus on being a man of value and a business of value long term, you're going to have a very solid foundation to build from and client trust. And if you have that long term, no matter if you stay in this business or a different business, you're going to be in a good place.
Absolutely. Providing value is the only thing that remains, that makes people keep coming back to you over and over and over again. Even if somebody, undercut you on price, what I've discovered is the clients still come. You won't be competing on the price. It's on the value, on the, do they get more than what they pay for? Or they just get a mediocre service. Mediocre is never gets you anywhere. You could be in the business for a short time. I have this question about mindset, which I tend to come back to every now and again. You, as a financial planner who has been successful in your own right, and you recently actually finished your certification. I think it was last year you mentioned. What is the perfect mindset that business owners need to have to succeed when it comes to their financial planning?
Part of it is what I just talked about, but part of it is that you have to see it. You have to see your goal and you have to see your vision when nobody else does.
Right.
You have to be able to see it and believe it and not give up on it, because it's always seems to be right at that point where you're about to give up that you just get that breakthrough, that extra client comes in that gets you through, or that referrals start coming in. And it's really tough, but you're the only one that can do it for yourself. But if you get there and once you start seeing it, that feeling because you believed is going to set you apart from 98% of the other people out there that are working for other people. Right. But it is hard, and it is not, I'm not going to deny that. It is hard. There's still days where I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, what a grind. Am I doing the right thing? I mean, I was up at 5 yesterday and I didn't get done until almost midnight last night. And I'm like, well, I was working in a Fortune 500 company before and I was making good money. I was like, I could just go do that and work, 8-9 hours a day and have a good salary and get benefits and all that. But I truly believe that when I look back and I'm 80 or 90 years old, the families that I helped and the business I created, that hopefully at some point I can pass on to my next generation, whether that's my employees, my team members, or my children, that I say it was worth it. And I have to believe that right now. And those days can be tough. So that's what I encourage everybody to do. If you have a vision and you know there's something burning inside of you that you have to do, just believe it and just never give up. Just do it until, simple as that.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that with us today. I now have got a series of the most frequently asked questions when it comes to financial planning. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I had my team do a research on that, and I'm hoping you'll be able to help us on that. One of the questions that kept on coming when the team was, reviewing on this is more on the financial side. One of them says, is there a smart way to pay off my student loans? I think this can be connected to the story you shared earlier on.
Yeah, it's funny. I was speaking with someone yesterday, asked me the same question. So it is a common question. So, it's great because, like I mentioned, there is a crisis going on. I'm not sure if it's as bad in the UK, but here it is a crisis.
It is just as bad, man. I tell you.
This is great. I love this. So if you're already there, okay, if you weren't already here in the situation, I'm going to give you a different recommendations and different advice. But I'm going to assume you've already graduated. You're sitting there with student loan debt and maybe $50,000 or $150,000, which, man, is just not that uncommon these days. Is that you have to become aware and realize that you are in a critical situation. That's number one. Because what I see is that there's only a minimum payment required, and it'll, like, on $50,000, it'll be like $150 a month, but it'll be on a 20-year, 30-year plan sometimes, like it's a mortgage, okay? Which a lot of times $200,000 in student loan, that is a mortgage in some states, not in California, but in some states here. Yeah. So you have to realize how severe of a situation this is and how much it could potentially be holding you back from your long-term success. So what some of the options people look at out there is, well, if I consolidate, I can get a lower interest rate, and sometimes that can be good. But this is the thing. If you're sitting in like an overwhelming, suffocating debt, I mean, that's so much pressure on you if you have to make that one payment and pay extra. So a lot of times here, student loans are broken up. It could be like 15 or 20 different loans sometimes because they've taken all these different ones from different years and different times. What I recommend is you sit down and you line up all of your student loans from the smallest balance to the largest balance. Because technically, yes, you would pay it off sooner if you place the exact same number of dollars, doing it both ways, whether you paid the highest interest rate first. If you paid the highest interest rate first, technically you paid off. But the problem is, this is so overwhelming that you don't get those behavioral wins if you don't do it this way. So I want to get some behavioral wins. And if you start winning, you can change it. Fine, do it the math way. I love math. I do math. I get it. But I specialize in behavior because this is the hardest part for people to change. So I want you to line up your student loans, smallest from largest. Don't worry about refinancing them right now. I want you to look at what all your minimum payments are. Figure out what those are. Subtract that from your monthly budget. And then whatever you have left over every single month, I want you to take that dollar amount and I want you to apply that to the smallest student loan first. And this can be tricky because a lot of these companies, first of all, when you call them, you're not dealing with intelligent life a lot of times. I mean, you just really not. And I'm sorry to say this, but it's true. They don't always do this. But so there's a couple ways to do it. Like here, if you have an online system, sometimes it gives you an option to say apply to principal the extra payment. because if you don't specifically ask for that, a lot of times they'll apply it to future payments. So essentially, you'll be paying the whole interest if you do it that way. And your interest, it doesn't actually beat down your principal. So you may have to write a separate check if you don't have an online system. But if you have an online system, you can go in there a lot of times and say extra payment and put applied to principal so that you don't defer payments. And if you just do that to your first one and you just start, hammering on that and get that one out, this is the thing. Once you get that done, you're going to have whatever you had before in your budget, plus you're going to have that payment amount that you had for that first loan. And then you're going to add those two together and then go to the second loan. And you're going to see that second loan go down a lot faster. And knowing human behavior, you start seeing movement like that. It gets really exciting and you start to see progress and people feel hope that they can actually do this. Because when I sit with people, a lot of times they just feel like there's no hope, that they're not going to make progress, and they just give up and they just look at it like it's their cell phone bill, like it's a bill that they're going to have to just pay forever and say, forget about it. And
it feels so overwhelming.